You wouldn't need a full elevator ride to convince me that Rise Race the Future has a great premise. It's a slightly futuristic take on Sega Rally with great graphics and a robust single-player campaign. Couple that with the fact that the Switch is in desperate need of more great arcade-style racing games, and you have what sounds like a winning formula. There's just one problem. I can't stand playing this game. We'll see how that impacts the review. With a subtitle like Race the Future, I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. As it turns out, Rise is a racing game set in the near future where car tires are able to effortlessly switch from driving on the road to hovering over the water. This sets up a fun twist on the rally racer that doesn't just include mud and snow-covered roads, but also entire lakes and rivers you have to drive through. This is an ingenious new wrinkle that allows for much more diverse stages, all with a vaguely science fiction tilt to it. This is a cool concept, and I was even more impressed when I saw the lengthy campaign mode. The developers don't just give you a bunch of levels to play through, but rather load them up with all kinds of missions to complete to earn trophies and new fans. You'll need to perform a lengthy drift, overtake a bunch of cars, stay above a minimum speed, never fall to last, and many more. There are stages where you're not even that concerned about the rest of the race because you're really only focused on hitting the handbrake a number of times and getting to the end without crashing. And all this comes together thanks to the great course designs and locations. This is a rally race, so we spend most of our time up on a mountain or through the forests. We'll occasionally see the fleeting signs of civilization, but so much of this game is about driving through the wilderness and seeing how it's been impacted by the future advancements in technology. These are absolutely gorgeous locations that are colorful and filled with detail, all while giving us a glimpse of what we might be headed towards. In fact, these locations are so good that I didn't even mind going back to them and replaying them. Instead of just giving us a mirror mode, each of the 4 settings have multiple tracks and paths. The game also does a lot with the weather conditions, layering rain, snow, and heavy fog over the level. This is hardly the first racing game to throw rain and night driving at you, but I was impressed by how much these conditions help make the track feel different. And that's the thing I keep coming back to. I'm legitimately impressed by Rise Race the Future. I love the locations, the insane amount of content, and the futuristic elements, but find the actual gameplay to be a nightmare. This is clearly made by talented people that know what race fans want from this type of game, and yet they end up getting the most important thing wrong. Look, I expect a certain amount of looseness from a rally racer. The balance in Rise is way off. From the very first race, I knew that I had to be gentle with the steering, or else you'll spin out of control and straight into a giant rock. This isn't so bad when you're on dry land, but ends up being a real problem when you're hovering over a river. This is where the gameplay just feels wrong. It's almost like you're supposed to be able to air brake left and right like a Wipeout game, but instead it feels exactly like you're driving on a road with no traction under the tire. Even with the grippiest cars you can unlock, the controls are a mess. It's not that I never got used to the handling, but rather that I never felt in control. It's also worth mentioning that Rise Race the Future is for single players only. There's no online multiplayer mode or split screen action, because look, you're only going up against computer opponents in this game. The bright side is that there's actually quite a bit to do as a solo player. We've already talked about the 64 challenge races and the multiple goals, but there are also 8 different championships to complete in a simplistic time attack mode. But even with all that content, this package would be a whole lot better with some form of multiplayer functionality. The frustrating part is that I'm a big fan of everything else in this game. The locations are stunning, the futuristic tweaks are cool, the various modes hold a ton of content, and I can't get enough of going from road to mud to water in a single race. This would easily be one of the best racing games on the Switch, if not for the awful gameplay. Of all the things the developer could have messed up, that's the worst one. If Rise is any indication of what we can expect, the future is going to be filled with near-uncontrollable cars that are terrible at driving over water. Despite an incredible premise that should have been awesome, Rise Race the Future is marred by floaty gameplay and a complete lack of multiplayer modes. That's a shame, because it's clear that a lot of work has gone into creating these gorgeous levels and the robust campaign mode. But with a garage filled with cars with squirrely controls, this newest racing game falls way short of crossing the finish line. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite off-road racing game? There have been a lot of great rally racers over the year, but maybe you'll surprise me with a more creative pick. Let me see your choices in the comments below. In other news, I'm currently hard at work on the very first episode of The Cover Critic. What's that, you may ask? We'll find out tomorrow, only at Defunct Games. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,